I have some advice that's going to make every real estate agent in America hate me. And that advice is don't buy a house. Now, I sold a $2.8 million property that I own to move into a $2.8 million property that I rent. Not because I can't afford to buy. I was already a millionaire multiple times over. I rent because the math told me to rent. I would never, ever, 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 ever buy a primary residence again. So on today's episode, I'm going to prove to you using math, not emotions, why buying a primary residence is one of the biggest wealth destroying decisions most Americans ever make. Then I'm going to tell you what better options are for you. Stay until the end because this is information that I wish I had even 5 years ago. Let's dive in. If you're new here, my name is Jamil Frazier. I'm a former welfare kid who built a 9-figure business, became an accredited investor, a real estate investor, an angel investor, and multi-millionaire by the age of 38. Now I help business owners and families stop having lazy money and put their money to work so that they can build real wealth and real freedom. So the big lie, and we've all heard it our whole life, buy a house, it's the American dream. Renting is throwing away money. That advice sounds smart and it feels responsible, but it's financially wrong for most people today. People confuse net worth with wealth. A house can increase net worth on paper, it's true, but wealth is liquid assets that generate income. A paid off house produces zero income unless you rent it out, and it still costs money every single year. That's not an investment. That's a very expensive lifestyle choice. So if you ask someone, how much does a $400,000 house cost? They'll say $400,000. Nope. Let's walk through it conservatively. You have your down payment. Most people put 20% down, which is $80,000. That money is now locked in, no longer compounding. Then you have your mortgage, $320,000 loan, and conservatively, let's say that loan's at 7% interest for the next 30 years. Your monthly payment's going to be around $2,129 a month. In total, you've paid $766,440. Interest alone is $446,440. So you've paid for the house twice over, and we're not even done. What about property taxes? National average right now is about 1.1%. So over a 30-year time period, you're paying about $180,000 just in property taxes. Then we look at insurance. Conservatively speaking, that's $1,500 a year. Over a 30-year time period, that's an extra $45,000. Then we have maintenance and repairs. Conservative estimates is about 1.5% annually. So in this case, that's an additional $180,000. And that assumes nothing major breaks. What about if you have a roof problem or an HVAC problem or you have gates that you need to fix? Next, we look at HOA fees. Very common now. Mid-range estimate about $100,000 over a 30-year time period. Then you have extra utilities. Bigger house equals bigger bills. Another $50,000. Then you have your transaction costs. When you buy the house, and even if you want to sell it, an additional $50,000. So the total real cost is about $1.4 million to own a house that you bought for $400,000. And my friend, that's best case scenario. Now, here's the thing. There's something called opportunity cost, and that's the part that actually ruins everything. So I'm about to show you what really destroys wealth. And once I started to figure this thing out, it blew my mind. So that $80,000 that you put down for a down payment, if you take that and you just invest that at 10% interest over 30-year time period, that comes out to about $1.4 million. And then what about the monthly difference from what you would pay in mortgage to what you would have to pay in rent for the same place? So your mortgage is $2,129. You could rent that same place for about $1,500, which means the difference is about $629 a month. Now, if you invest that $629 a month at, again, conservative 10% interest over 30 years, then that's another $1.3 million that you've lost out on. So your total opportunity cost is at $2.7 million. Now, the house value in 30 years, optimistically speaking, is maybe what, $600,000, $800,000 at that point. So your total financial impact is around $3.5 million. For what? For the privilege to mow your own lawn and to fix your own toilet? So here's why I realized that this myth is not going to die. Let's actually anchor this in data. So the median homeowner tenure, meaning the amount of time that a person actually lives in a house, is about 7 to 8 years. Most people sell long before appreciation beats your transaction costs. Then you have the cost of actually buying and selling the house, which is conservative 8 to 10%. So you literally already start deeply underwater. Then we have residential real estate appreciation. Now the real numbers are somewhere around 3 to 4%. So this barely beats inflation before all those expenses that I just talked about. Now the S&P 500 long-term average return is 10% nominally. Now, historically, this has outperformed housing on a risk-adjusted basis. And then home maintenance averages about 1 to 4% annually. That's a negative yield asset. And yet, most people are told to lock themselves into 30-year debt, while nearly 40% of Americans can't cover a $1,000 emergency. That's not smart, my friend. That's cultural programming. So the question becomes, why does everyone push buying, especially in today's economy? Well, because we have real estate agents that get paid when you buy, and then the banks make hundreds of thousands of dollars on interest, and the government subsidizes ownership because construction fuels GDP and homeowners vote. We also have your parents who bought homes at maybe 2 to 3 times their annual income. But now in our economy today, we're buying homes that are 6 to 10 times the amount of our annual incomes. Same advice, it's just different math. Okay, so Jamil, what are some better alternatives then? Well, lean in, because I'm going to tell you. So if buying your primary residence is statistically one of the worst wealth moves that most people make, here's what you should do instead. Number 1, rent modestly and invest aggressively. $750 a month invested for 30 years at 10% interest is $1.7 million. Renting isn't throwing money away. Overpaying for housing is. I'd rather own a piece of 500 companies than just one kitchen. Number 2, house hacking. Now this is one of the few that actually works. Buy a duplex or a triplex or even a fourplex. Live in one unit and rent the others out. If others pay your mortgage, you're investing. If you pay it, you're consuming. This is one of the few times housing actually builds wealth. Number 3, geographic arbitrage. What does that mean? That means move to an area where your income can stay relatively high while your cost of living is low. So today, many have the opportunity to work remotely from anywhere. So you can take advantage of high-paying salaries or building a successful business online or remote where your income can stay high, but your cost of living and your cost of housing and your cost of rent can stay low. So income is global, expenses are local. Saving an extra $30,000 a year and investing it for 10 years is literally almost $500,000. So where you live matters more than how much you actually make. Number 4, REITs. These are REITs. These are your real estate investment trusts. This gives you real estate exposure, 8 to 12% returns long term, 4 to 6% in dividends. You have full liquidity, no toilets and no tenants. Most landlords would honestly make more money owning REITs than their own rentals. Now, even my kids own REITs. I have 4 kids and all of them hold REIT portfolios. Number 5, businesses. This is probably my favorite place to put money. And historically, it's been my favorite investment just because the returns can be so big. So businesses can easily grow at 20% year over year, while your primary real estate historically is going to grow maybe 3 to 4%. Business owners control 65 to 75% of U.S. wealth. Houses grow slowly, businesses compound aggressively. Your primary residence will never send you a dividend, but a business will. Number 6, Index funds, I know they're boring, they're not sexy, but boring creates millionaires. And they just work. $500 a month invested will likely equal $1.1 million in 30 years. $1,000 a month invested into indexes will likely return $2.3 million. I know it isn't sexy, I know it isn't exciting, but boring works. Exciting debt doesn't. Number 7, land, not structures. Buildings decay, land doesn't. You have no maintenance, no depreciation, no drama. If I had to touch real estate, this is how I would do it. Charlie Munger, the partner of the world's most successful investor, Warren Buffett, once famously told a story about his neighbor. He said, I had a neighbor who bought a house, but I rented and invested. Same income, same city, same time frame. 30 years later, he owned a house worth $350,000. I had 15 million in liquid investments. He understood pride of ownership. I understood opportunity cost. Well, as we land this plane, I have bought millions of dollars of real estate, and I'll continue to buy real estate. I just won't buy a primary home to live in. Ownership is consumption disguised as investment. If you understand the cost and still want a house, fine. Just don't lie to yourself. And if you're under 50 and still building wealth, rent modestly, invest aggressively, build wealth first, buy the house later, even buy it all cash. Well, friend, there you have it. One path leads to a house, the other path leads to freedom. But you tell me, go on and drop in the comments. Do you agree with my assessment? Let me know. Also, if you want help building a portfolio aligned to your income, to your goals, to your psychology, go on and sign up for my next One Day to Wealth free investing class, and the link is right here below in the description. And quick shout out to Brian Marino, Patricia Garcia, and Tanny and John Leeper for joining my inner circle this past week. If this episode has brought you any value, please consider subscribing to the channel, give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to drop a comment letting me know if you agree with me or if you don't. Until the next time, say it with me. No lazy money.